Welcome to episode number 24 of the Practical Edtech podcast. It is December 20th, 2019. I'm your host, Richard Byrne. Let's jump right into this week's news and notes from the world of EdTech and just the world in general, if you will. Actually, before I do that, for those of you watching the video, no, I'm not paid by North Face to wear all this stuff. It's just really cold in my office where I'm recording right now. All right, so the news and notes. Canva came out with some announcements about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago now, on new features they were rolling out, and some of those new features have started to appear. If you log into your Canva account, you'll start to see that now you can turn your graphics into videos. It's a really easy way to turn a set of slides into a video with just one click. They also have a new tool for removing the background from any image that you upload or any image that you find using their built-in search tool. You can remove the background and then have a new standalone, just simple image with no background in it. It works for pictures with people in it, pictures with animals in it, pictures with inanimate objects. I did one with the television. I wanted to strip out the background, just have the television left. Worked with that. So, a really handy, neat little tool that you can then use your stripped out image into new graphic designs, including videos itself. So it's a great little tool. Check it out. I put a video up on my YouTube channel about how to use these tools. A couple of people tweeted at me and said, "That's great, Richard, but it's only a pro feature." To which I replied, "Watch to the end of the video." At the end of both of the videos, I explain how you can get all the pro features for free if you're a teacher. Not only do you get them for free for yourself, you get them for your classroom, your students as well, using your school-issued email account. Just go to canva.com/education and you'll be able to sign up and get all the details about how to get all the pro features for free for you and your students. A great little tool. All right. In the world of news, just news, unless you've been under a rock, you probably know that President Trump was impeached this week. Regardless of where you stand politically, and I'm not going to tell you where I stand politically on this because that's not what this podcast is about, nor is it what my blog is about. So I'm not going to tell you where I stand on that. But anyway, regardless of where you stand, it's probably a topic that's coming up in your class. It came up in my computer science class. Not a social studies class, my computer science class came up. So it comes up. If you're looking for some resources about it, Larry Ferlazzo, as you might expect, has a good list of resources available for teaching impeachment and about the impeachment process. Tom Ritchie and Keith Hughes both have good videos on the topic on their respective YouTube channels as well. Keith, in particular, has some historical perspective where he talks about the impeachment of Johnson and also talks about the impeachment of Bill Clinton. So you can check out those videos from Keith and Tom on their respective YouTube channels, Tom Ritchie and Keith Hughes. Great stuff. All right, so some other neat stuff coming out. There's a cool augmented reality app that I started playing with this week. It's called Displayland. I haven't written a blog post about it yet because I am still trying to figure out if it's got a use in a classroom, if it has a good use in a classroom. Whether it does or not, it's still a cool tool, and I want to mention it. You can find it at display.land. It's an augmented reality app. You can use it on an iPhone, an iPad. They also have an Android version. Just be aware that some Android versions, some Android phones don't have the hardware to support the functions needed. But it'll work on your iPhone, work on your iPad, and it does have an Android app available for some Android phones. Mine is not one of them, as it turns out. What this app does is it lets you take pictures with your phone or your tablet. You take 360, the 360 imagery. You kind of walk around an object. So walk around an object with your phone or with your tablet. Okay? walk around the object. You have to walk around a bunch of times, and this part was kind of annoying to me. Like you have to walk slowly, and you have to walk around it a whole bunch of times. Like I did one of my ski boots. I put my ski boots in my office, and I tried to do this augmented reality thing with my ski boots. I did like 7 or 8 laps around my ski boots. I was getting dizzy walking around. And what you do is you capture this imagery, and then that imagery you can share with others, and you can drop it into other places. It also lets other people discover your augmented reality materials in the place that you captured them in. So there's a little geolocation involved in it as well. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out exactly whether or not it has a place in a classroom. I can see some uses for it in geography lessons, but there's some pieces around the data that have me a little bit leery about taking it into classrooms until I get some more information about how the data is used on it. So, but still, it's a cool app. Check it out, display.land. Even if you don't use it in your classroom, just interesting to use. Google published a decade in search article, and it was surprisingly short. Actually, it was shall we say disappointingly short article about a decade in search, because we're coming up to the end of the decade. It's called Then and Now, a Decade in Search, and it highlights some search trends, basically is what it does. I was hoping it would be a little bit more in depth. It's not, but I mentioned that only because it inspired me to put together a list of trends in Edtech over the last decade, and I'm working on that right now, going back and looking at what was popular 10 years ago on my blog versus today. You know, how things have changed. What was popular 10 years ago? Are those things still around? Are they not still around? What's new? What's old? Right? I can tell you wikis 10 years ago, wikis were all the rage. You don't hear people talking about wikis much anymore. So, there's that. One other little Google note. There's a new version of Google Books. Well, the new version of Google Books started to appear back in April, and then it went away, and everyone was like, what happened to it? In fact, I mentioned it on the podcast, I think, probably back in September. Everyone was like, what happened to it? It went away. Well, now it's back. The new version of Google Books appears to be available to all users. If you have the classic version of Google Books, so if you go to books.google.com and do a search, you'll find a link on the search results page for viewing things in new Google Books. If you already have the new Google Books and you want to revert to the classic version, in the upper right corner there's a menu for reverting to the classic version. Not sure why you want to revert to the classic version. The new version is much better in terms of display of content, also in terms of just search tools. The new version of Google Books makes it really easy to find if the book you searched for or the book that you found through your list of results is available in a local library. Just displays it at the bottom of the page. It's really a handy little tool. All right, new tool that I'm playing with. It's called Biteable. It's an online video creation tool. I put it somewhere between Animoto and WeVideo in terms of functionality. Maybe a better description is it's somewhere between Adobe Spark Video and WeVideo in terms of the complexity and the functionality of its user interface. It's really designed for making videos for social media, for Twitter, for Instagram, wherever. So it definitely has that in mind in its editing features. A lot of the quick edits, a lot of the story sort of edits. But a neat little tool. Check it out. Biteable. It's an online web browser version. New little. I love word games, by the way. I shouldn't say I love word games. I like word games. I'm not usually good at them, but I like them. My sister kicks my butt in Scrabble every time we attempt to play, and my younger brother kicks both of our butts in Scrabble, and then my other brother refuses to play because he knows he's going to lose. Anyway, there's a new word game called Word Game. How Simple as that. It's a new word game called Word Game. It's a Chrome extension, and every time you open your Chrome browser, it will show you a new vocabulary question. That's all it does. Gives you a sentence, tells you to pick one of the 4 vocabulary words. That's it. You can find it at wordgame.betafactory.tech. It's a weird URL. wordgame.betafactory.tech. You can test it out too without even opening up your, without installing it too. You just go to wordgame. Oh, there it is. wordgame.betafactory.tech. If you're watching the video of this, bring it up on the screen. Just see how it works. Just go and play. You don't have to sign up. You can if you want to. You don't have to sign up. You can just play. Okay. The basic unit of money in Haiti is a gourd. Let's check. Woohoo! That's correct. So that's Word Game. Check it out at wordgame.betafactory.tech. Tool. All right, and finally, it's winter break. So news and notes, it's winter break. I'm going skiing. Hopefully. I'm gonna go skiing. I'm gonna hang out with my daughters, hang out with my family, do Christmas break sorts of things, but I'm gonna keep plowing away at some projects that I've kind of put on the back burner since I've been busy teaching full time too. All right. Thoughts from my classroom. Speaking of my classroom and teaching full-time, thoughts from my classroom this week. I finished my budget for next year. So in my school, in my tech school that I work in, the vocational school that I work in, every teacher is essentially his or her own department head. We all have our own programs that we're all responsible for managing a budget for. Or creating a budget for, and then the bookkeeper helps us manage the budget for it, so we don't go crazy spending all our money in September and when we need to spend it, for the whole year. But anyway, I finished my budget for the next school year. Really looking for, hopefully it all gets approved. I'm looking forward to adding some new equipment to the program and just adding some more equipment to replace some other stuff. It kind of took over. I took over the program from someone who had a different vision for it, which is fine. Her background was more in the networking side of things, so a lot of the budget previously had been spent on networking, right? On networking equipment. My background and my interest lies more in the programming side of things. Therefore, the budget is skewed a little bit that way for next year. That's all. Doesn't make either one of us right or wrong, just makes it different. And speaking of taking over programs, part of the program I took over was computer repair, or is computer repair, a computer repair course, which is mostly my sophomores, and you've heard me talk about my sophomore students. Sometimes they're a little bit like foals. They're like young foals, and just like all over the place. And I got a little bit slack on the cleanup and organization of their workspaces a little bit. And last week, I kind of just looked at it. I'm like, what happened? How did this get this way? So we literally wiped the slate clean, take everything off their workstations, literally wiped it down clean, and put in some new protocols for how to keep it clean and what to do at the end of the day. If the bell rings, what do we do, right? That sort of thing. And it seems to have made a difference this week. At least it feels that way to me. We'll see if it carries over after vacation. But that's how I feel about it. All right. Time for some Q&A. Questions and my answers. Questions from readers and listeners and viewers like you. First one up came from Lori. I am desperately looking for an alternative to Preview for annotating text for our 6th graders who have Chromebooks. I searched your blog and read the info about Seesaw's Chrome extension. I'm wondering if we would need to have Seesaw accounts already set up. Would you know of any other tools folks are using to annotate digital text on Chromebooks? So yes, with Seesaw, all your kids would have to have Seesaw accounts. So they'd have to have that in order to use Seesaw's Chrome extension for annotating text. It is a great extension. I love it. The other tool that I recommended to Lori to check out is Cami. You find it at Cami HQ. Cami HQ. It's a tool for annotating PDFs, and you can do it directly in your web browser. So check that out. All right. A question came from Shelly. I was sad to discover that Mozilla is ending the Goggles tool. I loved using that in my media literacy unit. Do you know of anything that works as simply as Goggles did? Thanks, Shelly. Yeah, I'm kind of bummed about it too. December 16th, that was last Friday? Monday? I don't know. A few days ago, 4 days ago, Mozilla ended their Goggles program. Goggles was a tool that let you just with one click go in and see the source code for a page and edit the page, but visually. Okay? So you just click on the page and you could change out the headline, or you could change out an image that was on a web page. And it was great for doing media literacy lessons like Shelly mentioned. Very simple tool. What it did is essentially what the inspector tool in Google Chrome does. The Chrome Developer Tools has an inspection. The trouble with that tool is if you don't have a lot of background in HTML and CSS, it's overwhelming because it's just piles and piles of code that you need to look through to manipulate it. Alan Levine, who writes the blog Cogdog Blog, recently published an article about using the tool. I've used the tool with my freshmen, but that's my freshman computer science class. It's not something and I took all day to teach it to them. Not something you would do if you're looking for a 5-minute or a 10-minute lesson in your library. So unfortunately, there's nothing as simple as that. Now, if you're going to use it for yourself as a teacher, maybe looking at the inspector tool in Chrome would be fine. But if you're trying to get students to do it, unless you're teaching computer science, forget about it. Mozilla suggested using glitch.com. I've looked at Glitch. It's not going to be as quick and easy as Mozilla Goggles did. So unfortunately, Shelly, I don't have a quick, simple solution for you. If any readers or listeners or viewers have a suggestion, please fire it off to me, and I'll be sure to pass it along to Shelly. All right. On that bummer of a note, we'll move on to Chris's question. Chris writes, "Hey, Richard, I love your work. I've been following it for years. Have you ever considered publishing a book? I bet there would be a good audience for it." Chris, I have tinkered with this idea for years. And as I've threatened, that's just it, threatened. As I have said many times over the last year, I am working on one. It's just one of those things that it's not my first priority every day, so it's taking longer than it should, right? Writing even just 2 blog posts a day, which is what I've been doing for the last couple of months, even with writing just 2 blog posts a day, every single day, it cuts into the time to work on the book. But yes, I have considered it. I am working on one. I had hoped to have it done in 2019, but now it's looking like early 2020, I hope. We'll see. All right. And the last question came from Kathy, which was a really simple one, and it was a response to my Instagram post. By the way, you can follow me on Instagram, instagram.com/rmburn. It's mostly just pictures of my dogs, my kids, and skis and bikes and stuff like that. It's not really anything Edtech related usually. But all that to say, I did last Saturday put up a picture of my desk with my 2 white snowball microphones on it, and she said, "Why 2 microphones?" And the answer is because I have 2 computers. The longer answer is I was going to speak at a conference, and I was going to do a session about making videos, and I got there and realized I didn't have my snowball microphone with me, so I ran out to the nearest Staples and bought one at the last minute, and now I have 2 of them. That was 4 years ago. That 4 years ago that happened, I think, 2015. So that's why. That's why there's two of them. No other reason. I don't have them both plugged in at the same time to the same computer. Just happens to be that I keep them both on my desk because I have two my MacBook and then my laptop next to it. So that's it. That's the answer to that, Kathy. No special reason. So I hope you all have a fantastic winter break, or I guess summer break if you're in the southern hemisphere. I'm going to go skiing. I hope you do something fun as well. And I'll have one more episode of the Practical EdTech podcast before the end of the year, and do one next Friday afternoon. Send me your questions, richard@burn.media or richardburn@freetechforteachers.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have or reach out to me on Twitter. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.